Successful Minds with Patricia Baronowski-Schneider, the show that takes you around the world to share interviews with some of the most successful and relevant people on the planet. Hear their stories and get the most important business lessons they have learned on their road to success and get exclusive advice on how to implement their success into your life and business. Successful Minds with Patricia Baronowski-Schneider is brought to you by the Strategic Advisor Board and your host, Patricia Baronowski-Schneider.
Hey, are you looking to scale your business from 5 figures to 6 figures or 6 figures to 7 figures? If you are, I have the perfect thing for you. What I want you to do today is I want you to go download a book. This book is going to take you through my 3-pillar system. It's 100% free. All you have to do is go to growfast.cash. I say again, go to growfast.cash and you're going to be able to download my free international best-selling book, which is called Be Good, Be Brief, Be Gone. You can take that book. It's going to help you scale your business to the next level. Again, go download it. Be good, be brief, be gone. Growfast.cash. I say again, growfast.cash. Enjoy.
Hello and welcome back to Successful Minds. I'm your host, Patty Baronowski-Schneider. Today I'm joined by Beth Probst, founder and CEO of At the Core. So welcome, Beth. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Hi, Patty. Thanks for having me. I am first and foremost a business owner, as you know. That's what we're here to talk about. And right alongside that, a mom. We were just discussing spouses and a wife of 28 years, just had an anniversary, and love living in the space that we live in professionally, which is, coming alongside high school students and helping them with some really important thinking and decisions as they move toward that end of high school. So, I do have my own 2 kids are both graduated from college now,
Nice.
just last
Nice.
year. And so I have lived the pain of all parents who paid tuition in today's world, and tried to launch their kids toward work that they will love. So I empathize all the way and have lots of stories and wisdom to share along the way. So.
Nice.
Yeah.
I can't wait to talk about it because, like we mentioned earlier, I wish I knew of you back in the day when I needed it, because it's such a mess now, but it's like there is no guidance. So I guess, yeah. Can you share?
And it's so tricky and it's so complicated. And the thing that is like the wet blanket on top of everything is the cost of college. It is just the cost. And so we all want, we just want the best for our kids. And we want them, to grow into independent beings, but without the burdens of debt, or worse, coming out of college and not having skills and experiences and education that someone will hire them to use in the working world. That can be, there are lots of stories out there today in if you talk to anyone with a recent college grad, lots of folks are struggling right now to kind of take their education and move that into that first job role. So, so again, what we do is very much to help that student in those high school years make better decisions as they move toward college, if they head to college.
Right. You mentioned a little earlier, we'll get into it with the questions that you mentioned about guiding the children from the high school age, which is very beneficial, because I remember I was working for one company and there were 2 gentlemen. One was basically a lawyer. And all I kept thinking is how much schooling he went through, how much money that cost, passing the bar, blah, 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 only to realize it's not really what I want to do. And another person was an accountant, same thing, the schooling, the years, the money, to realize that's not what he wanted to do. It's cool that you have that in your background, but there was like nobody, you have the parents, be a doctor, be a lawyer, and then that's all cool. But how about what it is he wants to do or she wants to do? So how can someone explain that
That's exactly right. And having those, and we'll talk about that in a little bit more. And I know we'll get into that, but those experiences and the exposure, just to kind of bring that idea forward for families, that's the key. Bringing that down into those high school years so that students can kind of get some sense of what these real world jobs are like. And I'll give lots of tips on that. So but that's, And I know too, if I can share, a little bit about the inspiration, that brought me.
That was what I was just going to ask you
to get started. Yeah. So way back when I studied information technology at Purdue University in the day, and I'm 55. Am I 55? I'm 55. And I do, and sometimes kids will say, "Were there really computers back then?" I'll say,
really?
yes, there were. They were just very large and they were very slow.
Boom boxes.
Well, the really big ones were like in rooms where everything was like super cool. It still is like that, but they were just ginormous and slow. So yes, there were computers, but I had my own moment in college of enjoying what I was studying, but I did know through internships that the single job that most of us were marching toward was not a good fit for me. I don't know how I would have said it exactly back then, but it was definitely a crisis. It was like, oh no, I like what I study. I like it very much, but I don't think that job is a great fit for me. So what do I do? How do I take the me part and combine it with the thing I'm studying and move toward work that can be a great fit for me? Yeah. And I ended up just getting very lucky, which is not a repeatable process, not recommended to count on luck. I would not do that. But I did get lucky and saw a man that came back and spoke to a class that I was in college, and he was doing a different job than most people out of our major were doing. And it was my aha moment where I thought, oh, I could do that. And that really does. So that was a pretty pivotal moment in my own life. But then fast forward through the years, why did I start at the core? I really started it because I was watching teens around me, family, friends, neighbors, etc., make that transition from high school to what was next. And we live in an area that is there's a high percentage of students that will head on to college. That was an expectation. Most of the parents also went to college. So this kid is going to go to college, and they were heading off without a rudder in the water. And as a parent with younger kids at that time, I'm like, oh no, this is not going to go well. I would talk to these kids and ask them some questions and try and scratch a little bit deeper about why they were saying they wanted to be an engineer or why they were saying they wanted to do this or that. And I wouldn't get much below the surface with them. There really wasn't a lot to their statement. And I thought, this has the potential, to go sideways for that student and family. And then couple that with the fact that through my professional years, I had a lot of experience interviewing, doing deep, really in-depth professional interviews, both from a pre-sales technical perspective and also from a hiring perspective. And I thought, can I use my interview techniques with teenagers and get them, can I help them shine that flashlight on who they are, get them to think and process and consider their strengths, et cetera, their struggles, their interests. And can we help them then put that together, into a plan to move toward work that they will love? That was the entire genesis of At the Core. And it's spawned, what we do with our flagship service for since 2012. But that was the genesis, was just watching those students struggle. And I was just like, oh, this may not go well for them. And I want them to head off with more confidence and clarity. We want that for our kids.
Yeah. I think that was awesome because, the schools don't teach you this. That's not part of the curriculum. They assume, okay, your parents will guide you. Well, who's guiding us? Things have changed. And even to say, I knew both my kids, what they started or wanted to do as a career isn't even remotely close to what they're doing now.
Yep.
But even if you said, well, I have a passion for this, who's telling you, like you said, well, you might, like with your situation, you might not realize that that's not where I need to be, but there are other things that you can do for that with
That's
that
right.
specialty. Who's telling you this?
No one, and I think it's hard too. So two things. One, the passion thing I'll talk about quickly. And then there's this other thing that kids do that we call posturing. And so sometimes kids recognize that they should have like something that like when they go to like a family, party and they're heading toward the end of high school, people will start saying, are you going on college visits? And what are you planning on studying and all that? And sometimes kids will just start to say something that will get people off their backs. And we call that posturing. And so that can be troublesome, right? Because there really isn't a lot of, there may not be a lot of beef behind that or meat behind that. So, and then the passion thing too, you mentioned, there are sometimes kids who will have that passion and just not kind of understand how to take that passion and play it out in the working world. There are also, Patricia, lots of kids that don't have any passion that they discover through those high school years. Passion can feel like pressure to them. Like I'm supposed to have a passion. I've been taking, 4 years of English, 4 years of math, science, social studies, a couple of electives. I haven't found a passion yet. So now how am I supposed to make these decisions of what's ahead? So these things complicate the whole story, don't they? Yeah. Aren't teenagers fun?
Well, that was one of the things that really I always admired when I was in school, and I'd have classmates who were like, oh, I already know I'm going to be a doctor. I already know I'm going to be an accountant. And I used to say, like, I always joke, I always say, I don't know what I want to be when I grow up. I never had that drive. Like the job that I do now, it was a job I had out of high school. I admired it because it was a lot of women working in a male-dominated industry and their tenacity and I just loved it. But it wasn't that I said, well, this is what I want to do when I grow up. I never had that drive, I knew I needed to make money. I mean,
that's right. And live independently and all the, and it's just such a different world today. Again, here we are a generation later, and to go to college isn't the same type of decision as it was, I mean, literally when I went to college, I was telling you before, it was $6,000 a year. Right. Yeah. All in total cost of attendance, state school, in the 80s and in the late 80s, graduated from college in 1990. And today that same kid can't go to my alma mater, in state for less than 4 times that. So they pay for 1 year, right? What we paid for all 4 years. It's just so that cost and my alma mater's like one of the cheap ones. It's like known. I mean, I don't want to say cheap, but it's a good value. Yes. It's a good value. I'll say that. But it just is like, it just makes you like almost want to throw up, to send your kid off to college and to have them not have that sense of why they're going. So that's what, we live in that space of trying to help students and families navigate that process and do specific things during the high school years that cause that student to kind of lift up their head and say, all right, well, truth be told, that job looks horrible because, and this one over here is kind of interesting, because, so I just love helping engage them to think and consider and evaluate. So that's just a little bit kind of from the top of our philosophy and some of the reality that kids are experiencing.
Yeah, but that's super important because, as I mentioned, I've known people to go to college, invest countless dollars, years, education, blah, 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 only to realize that that's what the end goal wasn't what they wanted at all. So
that's right.
Rather than, you're basically saving them a lot of heartache, a lot of financial burden, and a lot of stress, because you can help guide them to what's your passions, what are your options for that, and how can we get you there? Here's the things you need to prepare now, as opposed to as an adult, which is going to be 10 times longer.
That's right.
Yeah. Now tell us, what are some of the biggest challenges you face when starting your business, and how'd you overcome them to build a successful small business?
It was a funny, when you asked me that question in some of our pre-work, I thought, oh, I know the number one issue that I ran into at the time. It was just me initially. There's 17 of us now that do work with students. It was so we were creating a new service that really didn't exist. And that's exciting and fun and yay, we get to start this thing. And what do we call it? That was honest to goodness. I can literally remember where I was sitting for some of this thinking. And I'm like, what do we call it? And how can it be known? And so so briefly, the main flagship service that we do with students, again, it's an interview-based process that it's extended interviews. So the student can't just tell us something in the first interview and we go, okay, we got that. We do 5 1-hour interviews over the course of 2 to 3 weeks with the same student, and it's all one-on-one, and it's all tied to, so I'm getting to the name of the product, or the service, but it's all tied to what's inside that student, right? What their strengths are, their struggles are, their interests, their values, their preferences, their lifestyle goals. They just kind of get it all out on the table. Right. And then we catch it all and we ask some probing questions along the way. And then we help connect that knowledge to the kinds of work that can be a great fit for them. So the service is very much tied to self-assessment. Mm-hmm. It is that student's inner look it's that look inside of who am I, what makes me tick. When I'm honest, what kind of situations do I really enjoy or thrive in? What do I struggle with? Right? So it's that self-assessment process, but it's done together with a guide, with an individual right alongside, right, helping you think it through. So we called it guided self-assessment. So naming the service was difficult. Then explaining the service, because again, it's new. It's not like, when you need new tires on your car, right, you don't buy them very often, but you know what they're for. And you know that there's like a couple of different types of tires, different price points. You need tires. Right. When you have a kiddo that has question marks over their head on their way through high school toward college, you don't know exactly what kind of thing they need to help them. And you're not going to go to, the internet and search for guided self-assessment. Right. So that was also, tricky. And it still is tricky today. So is it career counseling? Well, we do get to careers, but it's very focused on, again, who that student is. So those two, naming the service, explaining the service, finding the first families that were willing to kind of offer their child to this service, right? So thankfully, that was probably less hard than I expected. Families, once they sort of heard an inkling of it, they would almost offer themselves up. I thought that was going to be more challenging. And then shortly thereafter, probably after a year of doing this work independently, I had so many people who wanted to do this that I then needed to train someone else to do it. And that was a whole new challenge, right? I was like, oh, I don't know. Can I teach somebody else to do this? I think I can. And like I said, so now we have 17 folks that do different work supporting students and families. So we've gotten over those initial challenges, but those are some of the fun initial ones that were out there that was fun to reflect on.
Yeah, a lot of people would never even think about it, because I remember the same with me when I started my business. Like, what do we name it? And now, like, we named it. In my head, I know exactly what it meant, but to the outside world, they really don't. And then it's mistaken for other things, and I'm kind of like, I'm kind of too late now because we already have the logo and letterhead. But
Yeah, I get it. It is, and that's where, like those explainer videos and that, having your elevator pitch, all those things from a business perspective are critical. But it was really interesting to be at that square one building blocks, we're making something that really doesn't exist. I looked all over for peers, is there something else out there that I
yeah,
can,
exactly.
I can kind of, are there friends and peers that I can across the country that I can, not really. There really isn't.
Now tell us, you mentioned evaluating and pursuing growth opportunities. So can you share a specific example of a growth opportunity you seized and how it impacted your business?
Absolutely. The one that kind of comes to mind is that in those initial years, our entire focus was self-assessment and career exploration for the teen.
Right.
That was our focus. We didn't believe we needed to support a student as they moved into that educational path planning. So thinking about like college planning, or do I go to a tech school or trade school, or, can I earn credentials or certifications? We didn't think we needed to help with any of that.
Right.
However, the opportunity that really it happened very early. Our first families were so happy with the self-assessment and the career exploration work, and they wanted to continue working with us, but they needed help with the next steps, which were some of the traditional college planning activities, right? So things like going on, excuse me, things like going on college visits. Do I need to take the ACT or SAT? I heard I have to write an essay with my college application, things like that, right? And we thought, well, that should all really be handled by, your school counselors. And we came to understand that for a number of reasons, that most families don't feel the level of support from their school counselors that they need to be able to move through that college planning stuff. And it really is just mechanical stuff. It's not difficult. It's just steps and stuff. So we ended up growing our expertise tremendously in that third area of what we call educational path planning, whatever path you're heading on, college or otherwise, how to plan for that. So we grew a lot of expertise in that area. And what that ended up doing too, Patricia, was it ended up being a big plus for us, or the impact of that growth opportunity was that more people do search for college planning help. They may recognize that tangible thing, right? That, oh, my kiddo has to take this test. They may search for some of that help, and they may, so honestly, we've grown tremendously through that. And we actually give away a lot of that college planning help. We just publish it. We do a ton of free webinars. It's really almost a community service. But in return, those families then are in our subscriber list. We're able to communicate with them and share other things that we do. Right. So they'll end up learning about that self-assessment and career exploration work that we do as well. So that's a good, simple and tangible and an impactful example of a growth opportunity that we could have said no to. We could have said, nope, we're not going to do that. Other people can do that. But we did say yes, and it's made a difference.
It's like a whole full package now. You find you find the need and you fill that void. It's awesome. Now tell us, you advocate for flipping the college planning process. So can you elaborate on this approach and why you believe it's more effective for students and their families?
So when most families begin this process, this college planning process, we like to say that they get toward the end of high school and recognize that they need to pick a college. There's really three decisions. You have to pick a college because that's, you see all these funny memes around this time of year. We're recording this in the month of August when families are really getting ready, to send their kids to college. And you see all those funny pictures of the car completely loaded on the top, right? So you got to pick the college because you got to drive all this stuff there and drop your kid off. And all right, so pick a college. You do have to pick a major. You do. You get to graduate from college without picking a major and then completing all the required classes in that major. So you do. That's the second decision. And the third decision is that, as parents of kids who have gone through this process, you and I both know that those years of college fly by. Yeah. And before your student knows it, they are sitting for a college internship interview. Mm-hmm. And that's where that third decision, having your eye on a potential or targeted career, mm-hmm. while you're moving toward college. Sorry. So again, those three decisions, picking the college, picking a major, and having an eye on a targeted career, of those three, families naturally will gravitate toward picking a college. Mm-hmm. And it's because they don't know how to do the other two. They don't know how to help their student with thinking about a major or understanding careers that are out there in that connection. So they focus on colleges. And I also think it's because it's tangible. We walk on the campus, we have an experience, we buy a t-shirt, we see a dorm. We think that's the most important part of it, is the where. And I'll add in that we've asked thousands of students, really, why does anyone go to college? Why does anyone go? And they will say almost to a kid that it is they'll say something like, to get a better job. So they understand that the investment in college is so that you come out the other side and that you can move into the working world in a different capacity than you would if you hadn't gone to college. You could still go into the working world, but at a different capacity because you have this degree. That's the idea. The kids know that it really is ultimately about the job. So flipping the process is a suggestion or a challenge to families to not think about the college first and foremost, but instead to think first about who's my kid, what are their strengths, what are their interests. Then second, what kinds of careers are out there that can be a great fit and align with who they are and what their goals are. Then third, what would they study so that they would be prepared for careers that look like this? Well, they could study this or this. Let's focus on those. And then fourth, mm-hmm. where can they go to school? Mm-hmm. That meets their needs, that, is far enough away or close enough, and costs, the cost is within our budget, and, the size is right and the setting is right last on the college. So that's the flipping, moving from the central decision of college, the name of the college, and instead the central decision being your kid, their future career, how to prepare them in that major. What do they study and what kinds of experiences can they have in college to prepare them? Then last is, where do you go to college? Oh, that's our challenge to families.
Yeah, people wouldn't even, I wouldn't have even thought about that, but it makes total sense. So that's good.
Well, good. I'm glad we've been teaching that for
no, it definitely makes a lot of sense.
Many years now. Yeah.
Nice. Now, we talked about it a little bit. So how do you help students understand real world careers, and why is this understanding crucial before they make college related decisions?
So like we were talking about earlier, they often don't feel that passion. They've had something of that limited exposure because, think about the classes they take, right? They take English, they take math, they take science, they take social studies. They may not have that aha moment. And then another real problem is that they tend to be very unaware of real world careers. Think about it. They have a very limited exposure. They kind of know what mom and dad do. Mm-hmm. They also kind of know what they see on maybe shows that they watch. So there's been a whole forensic science, right, with the swell of television programs that are tied to forensic science. And that has caused a number of high school students to believe that's the career that they want, even though the forensic scientists excuse me, always comment that the way that the jobs are portrayed in those television is like not how it really is. And it's very frustrating. So our students are super limited in, their knowledge of real world careers. And that's why we're just such big believers. And you said it so well a minute ago, this often, rests on the shoulders of the parents, but we can be thinking about how to help our student explore and engage during those middle school and high school years. It can be sometimes, remember the old take your kid to work day?
Yeah.
There was really a lot of goodness in doing that. Most kids came home from that kind of thing. I did that and thought, oh no.
Yeah, that's not what I thought you did all day.
Never. That's not for me.
Yeah.
And still what a wonderful opening to have that kind of exposure, because, in the car on the way home, mom or dad could say, oh, I love hearing you say that this is not for me. Can you just finish the sentence? Because I'm super curious. That job is not for me because, and then your kiddo might say things like, because it smelled funny, or because, people were just sitting down in their cubicles all the time, or because it was too noisy, or because of who knows what they're going to say, but they have their sense of those beginning nuggets of what work environment is like, maybe what the hours are like, the duties, the pay, the required education, just getting kids to really think about all those things as it relates to the whole world of work that's out there. That helps them begin to scrutinize and think about those kinds of job roles. I just think that's critical to have, to have that exposure during those middle school and high school years. Anytime that you can help your student do that is tremendous.
Looking to grow your business beyond 5 figures, 6 figures, 7 figures plus? What I want you to do is go download this book. The title is called Be Good, Be Brief, Be Gone. It will help you grow your business past 5, 6, and 7 figure. Go download the book today, growfast.cash. I say again, growfast.cash, and download the book for absolutely free.
Right. No, I think that's awesome. And you are 100% right, because people really don't understand what's involved in some of the jobs. They just know mom and dad go to work, they bring home money, they support the family. That's cool.
Oh, they also know, Patricia, sometimes they know if mom or dad is not happy in their job. They'll know that too. They'll pick that up. And I will also share this, because I know there are people out there saying, somebody is out there listening and thinking or saying, I don't think it's okay for my 16-year-old to pick a career that they're going to do the rest of their life at 16. I 100% agree with you. I do not think it's reasonable or even perhaps possible for our student at 16 to pick what they will do for the rest of their life. However, they absolutely can gain a sense of what they want from work through the exposure that comes from just peeking inside the window of what the life is like of, a nurse practitioner, or, an architectural engineer, or, a magazine editor. Do those still exist anymore? I think they do.
Yeah.
Sorry, I just made that one up. But I think that little peek gives our kids more confidence and more of a sense of, I do want to move toward work I love. Right. I may not know exactly what that job is going to be when I'm 30, right. But what does happen really, really fast, again, us moms of college grads know this, those college years fly by and they are barreling toward their first job. Right. So I think it is a really good thing for our students to be thinking about themselves and to be having an eye on those first entry level jobs, right. because that's more in reach for them.
Right.
Right. So at 18, when I'm heading to college, I'm 4 years away from that entry level job. That's not long. And I probably should be having internships and experiences while I'm in college that help me prepare more.
Right. 100%. So I guess in terms of all that, like what practical tasks do you recommend high school students complete to engage with their interests and prepare for college and future careers?
One of my favorite, and I mentioned it once already. I think I did. I think I mentioned the word electives. So they have all these core classes that they have to take, right? And that may not really ever connect or resonate with them. They may not think, oh, I love this. And they may not find that within those core classes.
Right.
But a lot of times, if you look through, high schools will have different course catalogs depending on their size and their ability to offer a range of classes.
Right.
Most mid-sized to large public high schools will offer almost a staggering range of electives that are available for kids. Could be an accounting elective. It could be a forensic science elective, to pick on that one again. Could be poetry or engineering or a woodworking class. I think when your kiddo has a chance to take that little mini version of an exposure to something that they have an interest in, maybe even from a career perspective, it can be a built-in way to have that first little, I think this could be, I want to look at this more. My own oldest child in his junior year of high school took an accounting elective, and he is now studying for his CPA exams.
Wow,
so
nice.
I am telling you, he knew business, math, money were interests, but he really didn't know what accounting was probably until his junior year of high school. And just that one elective, but it could have worked the other way. It could have shut the door on it. Right. And he could have said, I know that's not for me.
Right.
But then we would have gone back to that word. Oh, fantastic. That's not for you because, you've got to tell me more so that we can help redirect. So electives are fantastic. Another version of electives that live in sometimes different schools across the U.S. Is called career technical education. So these are our schools that we might have known growing up to have cosmetology or maybe auto mechanic, or could have been, building trades. So we think of them as the trades. Most of our career tech schools have now expanded tremendously to have programs in technology and engineering and healthcare, unbelievable stuff that our cybersecurity that our kids can take while in high school. So they just tend to be a little bit of a bigger bite than an elective. They take up more space on a schedule in that junior and senior year, but be on the lookout for those because those are I would recommend those to families. Another easy way are clubs or camps or summer programs. We publish a list we're working on it in December. We publish it probably in January every year. It is a list of summer camps and programs that are career oriented. And they're primarily in the Midwest because we're in the Midwest, but those of our followers that are not in the Midwest can look at that list and they'll say, oh, well, if there's an accounting camp, at a college for high school, if it's for high school students, but it's happening in Ohio, I bet there's one in New Jersey. I bet there's one in Oregon, right? And it inspires our followers to start looking for programs like that. But those kinds of summer programs are fantastic, especially for an older high school student, because they usually happen on a college campus. So they also have a little mini college experience. Yeah, a little taste. They have to keep track of that key, and they have to eat in the food hall on campus, and they have to do their own laundry.
Right.
these are all good things, right? And then two other classic things that are excellent for students to do are informational interviews. And I am even a lot of times kids that get daunted by that. They're like, I don't know what to ask. And so we are a-okay if a parent wants to come alongside and join a student for an informational interview. So if you're going to interview a forensic scientist or a magazine editor or a architectural engineer, that kiddo can sit together with a parent, and maybe they kind of tag team some of the questions, or the kiddo guides as well as they can. But if the student is nervous, I would never want that to be a limitation, right? They need to do those. And then job shadowing. I don't want to say I'm less excited about job shadowing. Job shadowing can have some unintended consequences. Like if you really don't know very much about the job and you ask someone, to be able to shadow for 8 hours, and in the first half an hour, you're like, nope, this is not, this is not for me. So then you have to like fake the dentist appointment or whatever, right? You don't. So I'm a big believer in, informational interviews first, and almost like potato chips, do as many of those as you can. And then if there's something that really bubbles up to the top and you want to do that deeper dive of a job shadow, then that's, you could go back to that same person that you did the informational interview with and say, would it be possible? I've done several. Would it be possible for me to come in, just kind of be next to you and understand what this is? And in some industries, that's more difficult to do than in others, just privacy and those types of things. So just keeping that in mind, those are the 4 electives, career technical programs, clubs, camps, programs, that kind of thing. And then those informational interviews and job shadows. So I hope families are inspired to do some of those to support their students' thinking.
Oh, that's all amazing stuff. I've never even heard of some of it, and some I would never even thought of. So I think that's, because I'm in New York. So a lot of that stuff, no one talks about that stuff, but I wish I would have known that then,
I know, but you know what? We all do the best that we can along the way with the information that we have and things. And I will, our kids are out of their experiences now. They're out of their schooling experiences. And again, just based on, time, bless you.
Thank you.
And the difference is we do the best that we can, bless you, with the information that we have on hand. So we blog a lot, we share a lot. We just want to inspire families to engage with this thinking, because we haven't really talked about this yet, Patricia, but if we send a kid to college and they have no idea, we are counting on that something to happen, like an aha moment to happen in those college years that causes a kid to go, oh my gosh, now I know I want to be a this. Yeah. Well, guess what? The first year of college feels a lot like the last year of high school. Your student is taking many of the gen ed classes that they've already taken in high school, right? So it's another English, it's another math, it's another lab science, right? And so what aha moment do we think is going to happen where they just suddenly know, oh, now I know? I think we have to be honest with ourselves and know that may not really happen. And evidence of that, we get those phone calls from kids who have come home from that first or second year of college, and they are no further along in gaining a direction toward what they want to study and how to move toward work they will love. And that is you want a motivated student. That is a student who knows that now the clock is really ticking and we have to figure this out. So again, this is the reason why we want families to be inspired to move these tasks into those middle school and high school years. Start chipping away at that career exploration and helping fan the flames of self-assessment.
Right. I mean, now all of that, I mean, it sounds wonderful and sounds like you have a lot of kids that are eager to pursue this. So can you share a success story from your work that particularly stands out, that highlights the impact of your guidance?
I'm laughing. They're eager. We say, Patricia, so I've explained that it's a one-on-one process. Right. Many of our facilitators, not all, but many might look like you or me. So they might be about the same age. Many are female, not all. So I will often say to students, really, who doesn't want to sit with a middle-aged woman and talk about themselves?
Exactly. Everybody wants to talk about themselves.
So if we just say that to sometimes a 16-year-old boy will be like, okay, I'm glad you said that.
Yeah.
But what they, so interestingly, we cannot make a student want to do this process.
Right.
They have to want to do it. And part of the process of telling families about what we do is that we do like a little mini interview with each student so that they get a sense of what this process is going to be like. They know what they're going to get at the end. We try to be really clear on expectations. But, there are so many success stories over the 12 plus years we've been doing this. I think the ones that tug at my heartstrings the most are when a student is going through this interview process and they have a moment of realization of something about themselves. And maybe their parent has always told them this, or maybe it's always been on the edge of their understanding of who they are. And it can be anything. It could be someone saying, oh my gosh, I focus way too much on pleasing others. It could be someone else who says, I really didn't realize what a risk taker I am. That's kind of kooky, and whatever it is, whatever that truth is, for that student to hear themselves say and explain who they are and take possession of those personal traits and qualities, right, and to know those things are key in their life. Right. It almost makes me want to cry because that self-realization, right, it will stay with them all of their life, and they will know this is a struggle for me. This is a unique characteristic and benefit that I need to lean on going forward. Whatever the truths are, right, the truths are always going to be helpful to that student as they move through their journey of what comes next.
Nice.
So tons of those. I won't name names but there's just those aha moments that all of our facilitators have experienced with a student. It's worth every hour of interview.
Oh, that's so nice.
All of it. Yeah. We love it.
Now, when you talk about your facilitators, how do you go about building a talented team of facilitators, and what qualities do you look for when bringing new members into your team?
So, it was really interesting to hire, those first folks. I knew that they needed to, again, we help students. So they needed to have a heart for helping students. They needed to have an ability to help students. They needed to be able to manage, the family process. So with guided self-assessment, there actually are a couple of touch points where the parents are involved. It happens in a family meeting and again, kind of throughout the end part of the process. But it was, I knew to ask some questions related to that, like what were their experiences with students, how, what kinds of career advising experience do they have? Or do they come out of HR? Do they come, where might these people live? The greatest news is that I was very, very happy to recognize this, and this was just a fluke. The number of people that are potential candidates to do this kind of work, it's a tremendous set of people. There are lots and lots and lots of people that may come out of the counseling world, out of the career advising world, out of the HR world, out of education in some form or fashion, who can be taught how to do this. So that made me, I was super happy that we didn't have some weird lofty requirement, you need a PhD in this to be able to do, because then we would be real limited, right, on the number of people. So there are tons of people out there. That was great news. The other big things that I would say about building the team, we have relied heavily on referrals. We are a small business. We're a tight team, and all of our teammates want to work with other teammates that have the same heart and have the same dedication, etc. So they often know others that they think would be a great fit, and so love that. That makes that makes things, I think, easier on some level. And then the other thing we've done is that, in this world of ghosting and difficulties with students and or really anybody, candidates and jobs, we have tried to be very, very clear on expectations from the start. Expectations about what the job is, what it isn't, how it pays, how many students, you might work with, how you engage with, all those things. We're just like an open book. So we share very, very openly. And we do that in a first meeting. And then if the candidate says, I heard all that and I'm still interested in taking the next step, then we kind of flip the tables and I ask them the questions. So I take that time to meet with folks and share those expectations just so that there aren't any surprises. I don't like surprises. Yeah. That's one of my strong personal traits. I don't usually tell people about, but and I tend to think people don't like them either when it comes to hiring and jobs, and so we try to really share and be very honest.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think that's all great, and I've been to jobs where my job wound up not even being remotely close to what the description was. So yeah, having that candid conversation. So no surprises. I know what to expect. You know what to expect from me. We're good.
Well, and because we share that up front, and that is an investment on my part to do that first meeting where I'm sharing out those expectations and how the process works. At the end of that first meeting, that candidate could say, I'm really glad you told me that. That's not going to fit for me, because of these reasons. I'm going to step away. I'd rather, that takes time to do that, but I'd rather move to the next step with that true understand, with that clear set of foundational knowledge between myself and the candidate. I do still do that hiring. So although we engage others with it as well. So, yeah. So it's worked out, beautifully. Most people, we're very lucky too. Most people that have the heart and desire to help students are pretty awesome people. They're doing the work for the right reasons. So it's just we've noticed some traits that are common among those people that take on that work. So they're good. They're a good lot.
Yeah. So you become one big happy family. Nice.
Yeah. For sure.
Yeah. Now, I guess looking forward, what are your aspirations for At the Core? And are there any new programs or ideas that you're excited to implement in the near future?
So I would just kind of wrap things up with almost going back to your question about those initial challenges. Some of our current challenges are tied to future, and that is I spend a lot of time thinking about how to take this amazing thing that we have and help others know about it, right? It is truly the greatest challenge of my work is how do you get the word out? We are based in Central Ohio. The majority of our students come through word of mouth. We really don't advertise. And so I know that there are students in your neck of the woods and all around the US that need this kind of support. That is our greatest future goal, is to help bring the support of what we do as a community at the core in that area of self-assessment, career exploration, and educational path planning, and bring that to the folks and families that need it. So I'm still looking for the magic, but now the magic wand to solve my, how do I reach people? Because I have not found it yet.
I'll talk to you after this, but yeah, so you work with people all around. It doesn't have to be in Ohio.
No, right, for sure. Yeah. So from the very start, that's actually a great question. If a family is in Central Ohio or where we have a facilitator, we have one in Michigan. I'm trying to think if we have anybody else remote right now. I think just one in Michigan right now. I should really know that right off the top of my head. I know. But most are in Central Ohio. So families in Central Ohio, of course, have the option to have their student meet face to face, right? But from the very start, I think in our second year of business, we had a family from Chicago who heard about what we were doing. They said, "Oh, we need this." And, but, obviously we're not going to drive from Chicago. We're like, nope, neither are we. So super early on, we did, I think we did that first one via FaceTime. Like, I'm not even sure. WebEx was out at that point years ago. But anyway, so we did the first one via FaceTime. So since then, years ago, we've always had students from across the country who engage with us, online. And then we do a lot of webinars as well, as we do that teaching. And so anyone from across the country can join us.
Yeah, I was just thinking that too, having webinars, but students too, and parents, where they could just chime in, ask questions and all that good stuff. And nowadays with Zoom and everything, you don't have to physically be any place anymore.
No, although I still miss the being, I do some in-person events in Central Ohio to teach, and I've got a set of them coming up this fall, and they always make me happy to be able to see people in person. Yeah, and because I do spend a lot of time right here in front of this camera, so. But that's our goal. So I just think, in summary, doing the work that helps students make better decisions at the end of high school is truly, it is impactful. It is joyful work. It is always challenging. It is always different. And I feel incredibly, grateful to be surrounded by a team of folks who are always morphing and changing, and improving our processes and our techniques. And it's been a phenomenal journey as an entrepreneur.
Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah, it's very cool.
I mean, you're definitely filling a major void that people need. So I think that's great. Yeah. Now, anything else you want to talk about that we didn't touch on yet?
Nope. I would just, as I mentioned, we give a lot of information away. We blog a lot. We have a newsletter that's really filled with high school planning, college planning, career planning information. Comes out every single Sunday. Anyone can head to our website at www.gettingatthecore.com. So the word getting spelled out at thecore.com. You can subscribe to that newsletter. You can partake in any of the free webinars that we do. Hopefully you've got a sense of who I am I'm probably a horrible salesperson.
You always tell, stay in your lane. You do what you do. Let the salespeople do what they do.
Well, it's for sure. And I just I'm not ever pushy. We just, our job is to bring that information to families and hopefully meet them at a time when it can be impactful to them and helpful to them. And anybody that's gone through this journey of helping a student move from high school to college knows that it's complex. Right. And the pathway can be fraught with, potholes. It's nice to have someone along for the ride to help, support and really guide and help you navigate. Right. So thank you for the opportunity to talk about this. I have loved our time together. This was very fun.
No, likewise. Thanks for sharing the story. And I think there's a lot of people out there that could use it. So thank you again. Yeah. Thank you again for being on the show. Again, that was Beth Probst. So thanks for listening to Successful Minds with Patty B. Never miss an episode by subscribing. So thank you again.
Hey, we all want to scale our business. Hey, I have the answer for you today to help you do that. If you're looking to scale from 5, 6, even 7 figures and beyond, book called Be Good, Be Brief, Be Gone. I'm going to give it to you for free. All you have to do is type in growfast.cash. I say again, growfast.cash, and you can download the book for absolutely free. I hope the book helps you this year. Take your business to the next level. Again, go grab the book, growfast.cash. I say again, growfast.cash. I wish you the best and grow, scale, and win.
Thank you for listening to Successful Minds with your host, Patricia Baronowski-Schneider. Please leave your feedback and visit strategicadvisorboard.com to get the latest and greatest business advisement on the planet. Follow us on social media for updates, and we'll see you on the next episode.